Hello and welcome back to Relationship Remix. I'm your host and guide, Eri Kardos. And this morning, or this evening, depending on where you are, I have I'm just excited to have my husband, my amazing husband, Jaymin Patel, on with us. Yay. Hi, babe.
Hi, everyone. Hi, babe. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. This is how we celebrate.
I love you. Yeah.
Jaymin is traveling right now and is in the US. So I loved your phone call or your message last night, babe. And you were like, you've been married to me for 5 years and I've been married to you for 4 years. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, time zones.
Yeah, you're the future. Now we've both been married to each other for
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So good.
Much longer. So
5 years and many lifetimes.
5 years and many, many lifetimes. And so I am super stoked because we've never really done anything like this before.
This is definitely new.
This is new and exciting. And so for those of you who didn't know, I just posed the question to my community and said, if you could ask my husband anything about what it's like to be married to me, to a relationship coach, what would you ask? And we got some really awesome questions. I have a whole list. So I think the one that was coming through the most I'd like to start with. Do I want to start there? Ooh, I don't know.
well, real quick, we have not discussed these at all. So we should just say that.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, it's coming in fresh. Like, we haven't discussed these. We haven't been like, is it okay if I say this or that? It was just like, it's totally like, we don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah. And you even asked, like, how do you want this to be, like, short and sweet or like me? And I'm like, you just be you. So we're just going to make it up. But actually, let's pause. A lot of people have never met you before, hon. So can you just tell people who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about before we launch into us?
Absolutely. So I'm Eri's husband. I do her, and I'm very passionate about her.
You made me blush so quickly.
Oh man. So I'm Jaymin. I'm Eri's husband. I'm an author, speaker, and coach. I've written 8 books. I have traveled around the world speaking at places like Harvard Business School and London School of Economics. I am a coach. I predominantly help people who want to go out and create ripples in the world, establish themselves as experts, either through book writing, through creating their speaking careers, or through launching their coaching careers. And so that is the main stuff that I do in my own one-on-one personal practice. I work with people on a variety of things, from energetics to emotional mastery, to business mastery and kind of more life mastery, kind of integrating everything all across. And what I'm really passionate about is people who are what I call paragons or models of excellence of what's possible in the world. And what I find combines these people is that they really love their truth, and they love their truth, and they live in their truth. When they live in their truth, they can share that with others. And so my passion is to help people love their truth.
So juicy. And you have a TED Talk and
some other things that if I forgot to say.
You're passionate about being a dad, and you run a whole program for dads, and there's just so much. We do a lot of
stuff. All this other stuff I forgot. I love it. I feel like my mission in the world is to be a dad, and everything else that I do is just creating spaciousness for that.
Yeah. So we have 2 beautiful children together. One is 5.5, and another is 4. And for a long time, we were a full-time traveling family. Like, we had 202, and we were on the road for just traveling the world, and that was our shtick for a while. And then we found Bali, and this is our home now. And it's been really amazing and beautiful. And Jaymin and I,
almost 3 years.
Yeah, almost 3 years. That's so crazy. Jaymin and I have both been nomads pretty much our entire lives. And so the idea that we would sit still in one place for more than 7 months was almost unfathomable. And now it's been almost 3 years. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. We love Bali though.
Yeah, and we get to travel and we move houses, right? So we keep it fresh in all the ways.
For sure.
So anyways, that's a little bit about Jaymin. Jaymin, babe, you're amazing. I'm just excited to have you here, and I miss you. It's been like a week and a half. I'm like, oh.
I know.
All right, so babe, the first question that popped up is the most important one. It's, do you wear boxers or briefs?
Neither.
No, I was like,
Yeah, so it's very rare that I'm not going commando or just walking around the house naked.
True.
But if I wear jeans, which I'm wearing right now, I go with boxers.
Ta-da! Now you know.
Ta-da. Now you know.
All right, we're done. Thanks, folks.
Yep. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Another question that came up was, do our coaching styles ever come into conflict with how we're steering our own lives?
Do our coaching styles? Yeah, our coaching styles are very different.
Yeah.
Our coaching styles are very different. At Eri is absolutely like divine mother energy. So she's nurturing and sweet. I mean, people have called her like, you know, like a kindergarten teacher that you can just go say anything to. And my coaching style is very masculine, very direct, very Papa Bear. And so it's full of love, but it's the love that's going to spring you into action and to give you a little, you know, a bit of chill in your spine. And so, you know, very much into integrity and calling people out and calling people in at the same time. And so, does that get us into trouble with each other? Is that the question?
Does it ever come into conflict with how we're steering our own lives, which is interesting?
Our own lives or our lives together? So I would say, you know, like I'm pretty direct, and you know, it's like if something needs to happen, it's just like go do it. Like I'll just think of something and like go execute it and make it a thing.
Literally, like
And
like I remember one night when we were first dating, you're like, I think I'm gonna write a book, and I'm like, yeah, I'm writing a book. I've been writing a book for 2 years, and then I'm like, literally 3 weeks later, he's published it. You published it, right? And I'm like, what the heck? What do you mean?
Yeah. So exactly. So I think it's like, you know, like rabbit in the hare, you know, like I'll just kind of like I'll go like real fast and then slow down. Like I'm the hare and Aries the tortoise, and just like going consistently. And so like I think that you know, sometimes like when we look at each other from each perspective, it's like, wow, like you're still going, and I wish I had the inspiration for the next thing, and you're like you're in it, and then inspiration will strike me, and then you're kind of like, what, you just did that, like what the heck, and then I'll go do that and then come back down. So I think that influences the way. But I think what we've recognized more than anything is this is the way we raise our children and live our lives, is that you know, you have that nurturing divine mother energy, and then you have the little bit more I don't want to say hard hitting, but a little bit more direct masculine Papa Bear energy, and those two are really needed. And they even with the way we are with our kids, you know, we both bring that energy, and I think that's like the work that we've done around, you know, honoring these archetypes and finding our truth in them. So yeah, I don't think it creates conflict per se, but I think it creates balance.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it really, I think it inspires. I think I really find a lot of inspiration in your way of doing things, and I love watching how my way of things will inspire things.
Yeah, for sure.
At the right times, we're just like, oh yeah, and I think a lot of it has also become about, you know, it's at some point, I think in the beginning especially, I found your way of doing things super sexy. I'm like, oh my god, he just does it all, right? And then at some point I'm like, this is fucking annoying, like just annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it moved from that place to a place of acceptance, of like acceptance and allowance of like, this is Jaymin. It's just how Jaymin rolls. And there's no, it doesn't have to be a loaded behind that. There's no like, it's good or it's bad. There's no judgment there. Now it's just like, and that's Jaymin. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's also been a great journey for me. And as one of the benefits of being in a relationship with relationship coach is that, yeah, like there would be parts of me that would be annoyed of like, okay, Curtis is going at her own steady rate. I'm kind of here hanging out and I'm about to go run again. But it's opened up so much more like easefulness and gentleness and being in the flow in my own life, because I see that and I may like be upset about it or judgy about it. And I recognize, oh my God, that's actually what I want. Like, that's actually what I want. How can I invite more of that? So, I think it for sure can create this like judgy kind of like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. But then it's the way we navigate it is it invites us into having that, and so that's
Mm,
where it kind of creates that balance.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm noticing that I have some nervousness around this, around the next question. I was like, maybe I'll wait till later. I'm like, nah, just do it now. So I'm not nervous anymore. What is the hardest part about being married to me as a relationship coach?
I would say that's the easiest part. I mean, because it's like, okay, pause. I'm really upset right now. What should we do? It's so I feel like the hardest part is for you because you tend to be the one who turns towards me
Mm,
more often in relating, right? So it's almost like I almost have like a hall pass in a bit because I know all the tools and then you use them. And so when we have conflict, like I can be a little bit more like closed and hard, and you know the tools and the approaches, and you have the awareness from being in practice with them that you can very easily turn towards me and open your heart and then like kind of find that reconnection. So it's not hard, probably hard for you. I think that's probably harder for you to be in a relationship with me. It's like the opposite of hard. It's very easy, very nurturing. Like I'm impressed over and over again by how often you're able to turn towards me and to create connection when disconnection comes up, and communicate clearly. I think maybe like 2% of the time I'm kind of like, well, you're the relationship coach, you should be using this tool. Like I gotta call you out
you
if like
do.
something doesn't happen. So it's like my expectations are maybe higher. So I think that's maybe the hardest part is like sometimes I think it's like 2% of the time. But I think I can feel like, oh well, you teach this stuff, so you should automatically meet me there. And then like the 2% of the time that it doesn't happen, then I can be like a little bit more upset about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, yeah, we had a question come in. I'm going to ask that same question in just a second. But I was just, it's really fascinating as somebody who quote unquote knows the tools, right? Like, this is what I teach, I should know it. And then there are times when I want to test you, or I just want to like be stubborn, or I want to go into my own trauma or whatever it is. Like, we teach what we need to work on, right? We teach what we're passionate about. We follow this passion because there's a lot of work to be done there. And like,
Yeah.
I love relationships because they're effing hard for me. And so like I have all these tools, right? But there are times that I'm like, screw the tools. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna be rebellious and do it the way I want it. My inner toddler wants to do it, right? And then and then watching you, like sometimes you call me out, and sometimes you just are like, I know how to do this tool, and I'm gonna take the lead.
Yeah,
And
that's
that is
probably
so
like the times I
powerful.
feel most proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, and me too. And then I'm like, and then me like having to be with my emotions, like I should have used the tool, and shame for like my husband initiating. Like there's all of this stuff that comes with it. There's never like perfect when these things come up, but it's amazing how we balance it, and how much I
Yeah.
appreciate how we've balanced it over the years. In the beginning, it was not like that. The question came in like, what do you mean turning towards? It's a Gottman Institute phrase. But can you tell everybody what you mean by turning towards? Maybe give an example of what you or I might do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably explained it better. But turning towards is like, okay, the very common pattern is, I'm the anxious attached one, Aries avoidant attached one, where I get triggered first and she gets triggered second. So does that sound familiar to people? Okay. So I'm assuming you've covered that piece. So that's the pattern. I get triggered, and then immediately she gets triggered because I'm triggered. And so now we're both upset. So now we're both upset, and one of us has to kind of turn towards the other person. And for me, I'm thinking, of course you're upset now. I'm the one who's upset, right? And so turning towards is like just recognizing, okay, like I'm in a trigger. This is not about what actually happened. This is about all this other stuff. Like, I love this person. I want connection. What I truly desire is connection because I feel disconnected. I need to like do the bigger thing, I think would be like the term, but like I need to like, with everything that I'm feeling, still open or extend an invitation to my heart, to my partner, by moving over to them and putting my hand on them, if that's a love language, or to gift them with something, or to say, hey, why don't we take some space and regroup, and I love you, and I'm going to come back to it. So it's like turning towards is that action of being in your anger or your judgment or your fear or your anxiousness, or all of those things we all feel, but finding the capacity to turn towards your partner to say, I'm still here. You can't feel me totally, but I'm still here, and I'm giving you what I can give you, which might just be a drop. But that drop is what changes everything, because it starts nourishing both partners, and the other person can be pulled in. So what I was saying is that you've really kind of, in a way, mastered this in so many beautiful ways, that you tend to turn towards me majority of the time. And then with the times that I get to use the tools and find a way to turn towards you, are the ones that I can really be proud of.
It's so good. It's so good. And usually, for anybody listening, usually you'll feel that disconnect. And it's when, oftentimes it's when we have a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response where you're like, I just need to get away, right? Or I just need to fight them, or I'm just shutting down,
Yeah.
or I'm just people pleasing. I'm just trying to take care of them, please, right? It's like, okay, well, when you notice that response, it's that wall going up. And it's just like Jaymin said, it's like making a little space in the wall, taking one brick out, and being like, I still love you. I'm still here. I'm still available. And this is really hard for me to reach out in this little capacity, but I'm still doing it. And that can make all the difference, instead of what I think most people tend to do is either attack and have a fight, or they run away and they're like, screw this. We'll deal with it if we have to. And sometimes it never gets discussed. So it just builds resentment and anger, and it snowballs over time. And so,
and well, as I was going to add, the other thing is that, like, if a fight or disagreement, whatever, it can sometimes last for days of like, no, I'm not really hungry. No, I'm fine. Like that sort of thing. But like the turning towards, within a few hours, you can move through things that would usually take you many days. And even at the end of those days, you come back into, okay, I was such a dick. I'm sorry. Like, right. And I really do love you. And you find that connection you desire. But we don't take actions that get us what we want the whole time. Turning towards is the action that gets us what we want. And now we can move through conflict in a few hours and still have the full range of emotionality and experience and trauma release and healing that needs to happen, but it happens within a few hours instead of a few days.
Yeah. Babe, what is the best part of being married to a relationship coach?
I mean, okay, so
or the most rewarding part, with the exact words. What's the most rewarding part of being married to a relationship coach?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I mean, if I was like, what's the best part of being married to Eri, I'd just be like, you're just amazing, but it's about a relationship coach in general. So I'm trying to whittle your gloriousness down to just a relationship coach, and then relate to that part of you and find the gold of that part. Yeah, I think I just remember when you were teaching me like some of the tools, and I would just be like, who the hell talks this way? This is ridiculous. Why are we doing this?
Yes,
and then I used
the
tool, and then I used the tool in a conflict, and it worked. And I'm like, oh my God, why doesn't everyone talk this way? And so I think it's like, that's the best part, is like you bring in things that my brain would just be like, this is dumb. Like, why are we even doing this? And then we use it, and it's like, oh my God, that just worked like a charm. Oh my God, everyone should do this. So I think it's like, yeah, I think being a relationship coach, you probably are more geeked out on this stuff. Like you go find these tools or create these tools or discuss these tools, like you're in the world of this dialogue. And then so I get to benefit from learning them through you. Whereas if you were not a relationship coach and you didn't know these tools, we would probably just navigate conflict in the typical ways that people would navigate conflict. And like I always tell people that if I didn't marry you, a relationship coach, I would be divorced by now. with all the baggage that I brought in and all the la 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 and the dramatic I used to be. Without these tools, like I could see how marriages fizzle really quickly and relationships can kind of take left turns really quickly. So I think that that's the coolest part. That's like the biggest benefit, is like you're in this world of zooming out and looking at relating, and then you can bring in really beautiful tools or nuggets or whatever that allow us to, like, not even like avoid the left turn or the downfall, but like expand and transcend in the way that we relate, to more and more deeper levels. And I think that's the coolest part.
I love that. And it really, I was just thinking about how in the beginning, it felt, when it came to relationshiping, it did feel a bit one-sided in the beginning. Not totally. Like, you had a really great audio book that you brought in, David Data, like right away, like first road trip, right? Like you were, it's not like you were like clueless to relationships. You were great. And there was room to grow. So I felt like I was really leading, right? And you were leading in other ways, in many other ways. And so it was so cool to have that. But at some point, we became we became equals in this. And then you were starting to bring in new things and new perspectives that really challenged me in such beautiful ways. And I was just reflecting on this story the other day, but there are just things that we bring for each other when we have a growth mindset, and when we both are like, what's a new tool that we can use that can just powerfully impact us and our relationship, so it feels like we're both contributing. And one of the really big ones was your emotional release tools that you got from doing an ISTA training. That has just like changed my world and many of my clients' world. And then the second thing that I was just thinking about was how we see the world so differently. And I'm just going to tell a very brief story. Jaymin and I had a special romantic weekend set up. I'm like, am I talking to the audience or am I talking to you, babe? I don't know. So you and I had this beautiful weekend set up, and you went out and you bought, I don't know, like 200 roses, right? And you being you like decorated the whole, like the walkway and up the stairs and inside, and the room had like ornate, like mandala type decorations and flowers everywhere. And I walk in and I don't even notice, and I go up the stairs and I walk into the room, and when I shut the door, then I am just hit with this huge wave of, I can smell roses. And that's what I commented on. I'm like, wow, I can just smell the roses. And that led to a lot of things. But one of the things that came out of that was hurt, and being like, you don't, like, you felt like I didn't see you, and how much love and attention and intention you put into this. And I felt oblivious. and also like, no, I did. I recognized how beautiful it smelled, right? And then what happened, there were many things that happened that weekend, but one of the things that came out of that was, you were like, oh, I wonder if you see the world differently, if you experience the world sensory perspective differently than I do. And, say, looking back, you always smell things first. Like, you just know what's going on through your nose in ways that I just don't understand. And I see everything. Like Jaymin, if you don't know Jaymin is working on his own fashion line. He's like everything needs to be like magnificent. If you watched how I dressed pre-Jaymin, very different than dressing post-Jaymin. This whole outfit is thanks to my amazing husband and him coaching me on but just being in my feminine, but also appreciating this beauty in different ways than like what I have naturally been drawn to. But this whole like
some of the stuff you used to wear before, oh my god.
But what's really interesting is like even that, the fact that you called out and said, oh, maybe we experience the world differently even through our senses, and that was like bringing it into conversation and made it real. And now we're like, oh, how do we celebrate this in each other? So I just love that now it's no longer a fight of like, will she see me, will he get my smell importance, right? Instead it's like, okay, great. We have a date night. We just know Jaymin's going to handle the visual beauty. I got all the scentscapes with all my cool essential oils and the candles and all that. And it's great. And everybody's happy. And we just get to celebrate each other. Whereas it once caused conflict. And
Yeah.
I freaking love that, and I appreciate that so much.
Mhm. Yeah, nice.
The next question that was asked by a couple different people is, do you find it intimidating? Do you find me intimidating? Do you find it being intimidating being married to a relationship coach? Yeah.
What's your answer to this?
I don't know. I'm just curious.
I would say I find it not like intimidating, but extremely attractive, because many people find me intimidating, and so it's a little bit boring when people find me intimidating all the time. And so to
Mhm.
have somebody who comes in and can really like whoop my butt and teaching me things that like literally were not in my sphere of what I know, and she can like really hold space as I learn them, and it's like a turn on. It's like, oh my God, you're like this expert in this whole world that I don't know. And I'm an expert in all of these worlds that I do know. And it's
Mm.
like, I feel so met. I feel like with an equal. I feel like I can teach you things and you can teach me things, which is what I didn't always get in a lot of partners. I would be almost, more in like a mentoring type role.
Mm.
Whereas with you, it's like I feel inspired. And so I would say that I'm more inspired than intimidated. It's like,
Yeah.
great, you have all this expertise in places I need it. And I have expertise in these areas where you may need it. Like, boom,
Yeah.
let's lift each other up. I think that it's like exciting for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks, babe. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna say a similar thing. I think it's exciting and inspiring for me. And I remember on our first date was like a week long of a date. And it
Yes, it was.
was, you and I both met up in San Francisco. We were both on speaking tour. And we both were like thrown into each other's worlds in the deep end, where I got to go watch you on a stage speak in front of hundreds of people, and you got to come to all my different workshops on all the topics I'm passionate about, or was at the time, and it was just really like seeing each other in the spotlight, and then also having all these beautiful intimate moments together. And I never felt intimidated by you. I think for me, it was always, God, he's so inspiring. And sometimes when I went into like shadow stuff, it was like, I'm fucking envious. I want that. I want to do that thing. I want a TED talk, right? Like, yeah. I'll get my TED talk. Don't you worry. But it's moved from that place of like, what is it? What are we really desiring? And how do you and I get a chance to use whatever energy is there, the fear, the anger, the envy, whatever it might be, to really alchemize it and use it to uplift and move the needle forward for us as individuals and as a couple and as parents,
Mhm.
like in all the ways. And it's
Yeah,
been so cool. So thank you. I'm glad you
agreed.
find me too intimidating, unless
Yeah.
unless I've got my flogger out. No. All right. The next question is, has this ever negatively affected polarity between you? So many relationship guru types claim that if the woman is teaching / coaching, her man will see her unconsciously as mommy, or worse at worst, or lose polarity at best. How do you impart wisdom without them becoming student or little boy?
Okay, so I would say, I would have to say a couple things. So I, where to begin? It's like a multifaceted question. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think of pretty much what happened was we went directly like into becoming parents. Like we were just there. And so there was this invitation for me to step into my masculine and for you to relax into your feminine during the main part of our relating where you were that coach, right?
Mhm.
So it was in the first few months that we like, I'm a fast learner, right? So like it wasn't like it was a 2 years journey for me. I mean, we're always learning new things, like in an evolution, we're evolving our relationship every day. So we're always learning. But in terms of like the key tools and the approaches and the, like, hey, pause, like, can we redo that this way, the making requests, like all this stuff we did in those first few months. And so I don't feel that I didn't, like, it wasn't like teacher little boy, because at the same time, you're so thirsty, you're so inquiring of the expertise that I held, that
Yeah.
again, it's like the last question. I think we just inspired each other. So it was like, maybe I was student to you, but I had something to offer to you as well. And
Yeah.
so it was an exchange versus a one way. I think what this person is talking about in the polarity thing is like, if the other person has nothing to teach back, and they're just learning, and they're just kind of like really becoming like a little kid to a mommy, and receiving from the feminine without giving, then I think that dynamic can be created. But for us, I think it was a function of us, moving into parenting very early, and that invitation for us to step into our polarity that kept the polarity, and also that I had something to offer that you were willing to learn. And that mirror helped avoid any polarity pitfalls, which I can
Can
definitely
you
see happening.
can you give a brief definition of polarity for those people listening who don't know what polarity is?
Yeah, so polarity is the energy, the kind of spark that you find in relating, and all people have masculine and feminine inside of them. And when two people come together, gay, straight, trans, whatever scenario your relationship looks like, typically you will find that you can like get along really well and have like, love and be romantic. But when it comes to like sexuality and desire and things like that, polarity, somebody being more in a feminine place and the other being in a more masculine place, creates this spark of attraction. Yeah. And so if it becomes one way, and the feminine, or this is, use the example of a man and a woman, or you and I, if you became the teacher and then I became the student, then you're kind of like the leader and I'm the follower, but I'm the masculine and you're the feminine. So it affects polarity, where it's like, I'm not, I don't feel powerful maybe, and I don't feel like I can just take you and ravish you and feel those desires, because I'm in such a receptive mode. It feels kind of like mommy, 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 and then there's no polarity there. So polarity is that spark, that kind of, you know,
Use.
yeah,
Pull.
the attraction, the pull, the going to separate poles that create that
Yeah.
that attraction, and this could be within a man or a woman, or any type of relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, and just leaning into that question. So in the beginning, we didn't really have any of this, but I want to say that after having kids, when we started going back to our quote unquote more natural or more like ingrained behaviors, there was some challenges. There's some big challenges around like, how do we intentionally create more polarity, more attraction, more sparks between us, especially as parents, because when you're like in the parenting role during the day and the night comes, it's harder to really, it can be harder to really foster that desire, right? And
For
one
sure.
of the,
It's like, do we just go to sleep? We're tired. I mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
or like catch up on all of our text messages or anything else, right? Like there's so many other
Yeah.
things that we can be doing, and to intentionally be like, no, we're going to create the space. And one of the crazy things that some people know when they come over that they're just amazed by is that our house is set up with a kingdom and a queendom. And
Yes, I love
that's
this.
one of the really big things we've done is we've separated our rooms. So so I have my own queendom. I've got an office, I've got a bedroom, bathroom, it's all mine. Jaymin has the same setup or similar setup. And we get to invite each other over to the kingdom or to the queendom. And we get to have very intentional dates, and we get to bring them into our space. But I have my space set up exactly how I want it. And Jaymin has his space set up exactly how he wants it. You better believe that his is very visually beautiful and mine smells freaking great.
Very true. Very,
So
very true.
it's different, but this is just one thing we've done over the years of experimenting and playing with, because we're always changing, right, babe? And so it's like, who are we now, and what needs to shift to reflect who we are now? And that's
Yeah, and it's really nice. It's actually like and I think maybe somebody was asking a question about this, but like, like I want me time. I want like my man cave, right? But like I also want to sleep there and wake up there and just like feel like me. And then once that cup is full, like extend that into partnership, extend that into fatherhood. And I think the same for you. Like it allows us to recharge, and we still end up spending many nights in a week together. But we
Yeah.
can also have a date where you come over and we have connection, and then I say, okay, lovely, I would love to sleep alone tonight. And also if I have like a call at 4 in the morning where I'm leading a workshop or something, it's like you don't have to wake up and whatever. It also avoids resentment, because I value beauty, you value function, right? So like,
Yes.
I would love the bed to be made every day. And you're like, babe, that's crazy. I'm gonna be sleeping in it in like 12 hours. Why would I make it? Right.
And
And so now
to
I
be
can,
clear, I make a pillow nest. So whenever people quote unquote make the bed, they destroy my pillow nest, and I get
that is
really
true.
angry about that. It
Yeah.
is literally a waste of 60 seconds of my life every day.
Every day, yeah. But it helps avoid resentment, because I can walk into my room and see the bed made versus walking into our room and wanting the impulse to maybe make the bed, but then also not move your pillows and then have it be something negative for you. It's like, cool, we both have our space to
Yeah.
express ourselves and invite each other over. And even
Yeah.
if you're a couple in like a two bedroom apartment, like that's doable. Like if you have like a den or a guest room, it's like, sure, if guests come over, you just change the sheets and go sleep, for sure together. But otherwise, create space for yourself so you can really be in that polarity of missing each other. Otherwise, you and I could have just melded into like one co-parent amoeba, and now
Mhm.
we can have that separateness, and it's really fun.
Yeah. And I just want to say if you're listening and you don't have a 2 bedroom, like there are a lot of people who live in big cities, and it's like you have 1 bedroom. There are lots of ways to create space for yourself too. And
Mm.
we can talk about that sometime. But anyways, which leads really beautifully into the next question, which was that a lot of guys create space by needing quote unquote time with the guys, end quote. How do you communicate / create space for yourself?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that. I mean, it's also funny because I'm more of the anxious attached, you're more the avoidant attached. So I think you create way more space. I want to be with you all the time. Like I'm just like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Let's hang out. I love you. Let's hang out. Like, what are you doing now? You want to hang out soon? So yeah. So like the most guys here is, I think it's like more on your end. For me, I just love the spaciousness of my like man temple, like it's not even a cave,
But
like it's like it's a
I think they're talking more about time. So how do you create time for you to have time for yourself or to do the things that you love?
by learning from your example.
So I'm like a
I
cat,
mean,
and I really love my relationship with myself, and I love my hobby as a dancer. So
yeah,
I definitely like prioritize this, and I
yeah,
think it has influenced you and us.
for sure. I mean, I think like if you make a generalization, that's more of a man or masculine quality. But like, like I was raised with 5 women in the household. Like I'm so in touch with my feminine, and I want to like hang out with you all the time. Like I want to have my partner there. Like, I mean, there are times where you're like, babe, and I'm, oh, I was gonna go to this dance event tonight. But I can just put the kids to bed and cuddle with you and can catch up. And I haven't really gotten to like drop deep with you in a few days. And you're like, go to the event. And I'm like, oh no, no, and then you're like, go. And then I go, and of course I have a great time. But I don't as a man, if you are a man and you don't have that need, hey, look, it's okay, like everything is possible. I don't really have that need for alone time. I mean, I also get it a lot when I travel, right? I love traveling alone, and I climb mountains with my friends, and do different things like that. So I think I also lead men's circles, so I get a lot of man time in the men's circles that I lead, with dad. So I think I just like take care of my own time, like through my regular stuff, and I'm more wanting time with you, I think, and you're more of like, I'm gonna go dance, or I'm gonna go take care of this thing, and then I create more time for myself that way. So yeah, I think it's more of a generalization that all men want that, but it's not true for every man. It's
Yeah.
not as true for me.
One other thing I've seen you do is that you create, you have a morning practice that is solid. Like you
Yeah.
wake up and you do certain things that are with you, for you, to ground you and start your day off in a very like powerful way. And it takes you like 20
Were you about
minutes,
to say sexy way?
sexy, powerful way. Yeah. And but you do this, like you model this so beautifully for everyone around you. And I think it's one of the things I absolutely love is like when you're like, this is gonna happen, you do it, right? So like for you, when you started your morning practices, like it started from like 30 seconds and now it's like 20 minutes long, and you go through this whole series of things that get you spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally here centered, and it's so cool.
Mm,
And I think that makes a huge difference too in like how much like alone time do you need if you're starting your day off with yourself. It's a really big
mm,
deal. And then you brought that a similar concept into our family, so now every morning we
mm.
start off with family ceremony, and we all go to this little family temple that
Alter, yeah.
the altar that we all built together, but that you really showed us how to do it. You led the way,
Mm,
and we get to do our family prayer, and sing in that and sing together, and then receive our blessings, and then everybody gets a turn taking everyone gets a turn to be a DJ different days of the week and put on a song that we all just dance to or play percussion to, right? It's like we just
mm.
rock out, and it takes a total of like 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes maximum to do this, but that's how we all start our day off. And it's
Yeah.
modeling being in, like really being centered in ourselves first and then as a family and really aligned. And I think it's so effing cool. And it's one of those things where
Mm,
people come over and they're like, whoa, you guys do that? Like, yeah, we do.
mhm,
And it's that commitment to making time and space and saying like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in this practice. And that's one of the themes I've seen
mhm,
this week. I know you've been in training, but one of the big themes this week has been, how do you choose what you're going to do and practice it and practice it until it doesn't
mm.
become so abnormal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think that's two practices are so important to me. Like, you're either on the path or you're not, right? Like you're in pattern or you're in practice. And if you want to switch out of the patterns that you're used to that get you the same results that you don't really desire, the way out of it is to be in a practice. And I love my practices and I'm always committed to them. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
good. We had a question come in. I'm going to answer like 30-second answer, and then I'm going to move on to the next question. But Heidi asked more about creating space in smaller spaces. A couple of things: you can create more space in your time. And so you can choose and say, okay, on Tuesday nights, I'd like this to be my time. And can we make an agreement that on Tuesday nights, you're going to be out of the house? And I know from this time to this time, the house is mine and I can do whatever the heck I want to do. That can be
Mm,
super helpful. We, for a while, when our relationship was calling for it, we each had another week that we knew was our solo time, and we just knew that like we weren't going to be around, like whoever it was. Like Tuesdays is Jaymin's night and he's going to go do whatever he wants that night, and it's like it's great, and you have my blessings, have fun. And so just
mhm,
figuring out like what's possible. And also we have created, when we were in the smaller space, we created well, even now I have my own sacred space, I call it. And it's like a mini little altar that I have where I can just go to that spot in the house and like sit down on the little floor mat, and it just becomes like my bubble. And it's got
mhm.
my things that remind me of who I am and where I'm going in my own journey, and the things that I'm really calling in. It has like a love letter to my future clients. It has, it has my dance shoes on it. It has just things
Mm.
about who I am, where I go and I sit and I'm in, and this is my space. And we have an agreement and understanding that when I'm in front of that little altar, that my sacred space, that I'm left alone, right? And
Mm.
same thing for Jaymin. When I see Jaymin there, he knows, and our kids know. When we're there, we're not available for discussion. We're really in it, and we get to model that in front of our kids too.
Yeah.
Hopefully that
And
was
and
helpful.
I one of my first ones when we were in Seattle was in the closet. I just took over a
Yes.
closet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I took over a closet in Santa Fe and I loved it. I was like,
Mhm.
closets, sacred spaces are awesome. And if you have kids at home, you might need to like have it be a cupboard, right? Where it's high up. So you never know. You never know, but you can get super creative.
Yeah.
Okay. How much of your own relationship do you give consent to being used / shared as examples to Aries clients?
I mean, if you how can I answer this in a nice way? So I love my truth. and I live in my truth, and I want to have my truth inspire others. So I just kind of have open consent. I mean, I think I trust her truth and to utilize things in a way that is maybe necessary or helpful, and not just oh da, 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 da. So I think we're very open to sharing what's going on for us. So yeah, you just have like my consent. It's very open. I trust you, and I'm also very willing to be seen in my truth, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
it's been really beautiful. I feel like we've intuitively known when it's okay to share something. And it is also like, there are times when if I feel what I call a wobble, right? Where I'm like, I'm not quite sure if I should share this. Then I pause and I'm like, I'm going to check in with Jaymin first, and I'll go and be like, babe, is it
You're
okay?
really
Yeah,
yeah.
it's okay for me to out you on this. And that's what we call it, outing each other, because the truth is we both are crazy and we're wild and we do all sorts of crazy ass shit all the time, that if people knew everything we did, they'd be like, you guys are really nuts. And I love it. And I really love it. But I also don't want to, that's not my story to tell. And so I'm fine telling people all my shadows and all my craziness. And it's really fun. And also the things that are super scary, but those are my stories to tell. So I try to be really careful with like checking in with you if I feel that quote unquote wobble, especially. But I think
Yeah.
that's come through time and trust, and like checking in, knowing, okay, yeah, this is okay. This type of topic is okay to share. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
there was a question from Melissa, Melissa Davidson. Yeah. Hi, Melissa.
Oh,
Um,
hey.
I have been more curious about the setup of your relationship and the space that I imagine you give one another. I'm curious about the details. So I think we covered that in terms of like the physical space and a little bit about
Mm.
how we plan our week. And there was a period of time where we each had like one night that was our own, right?
Mm.
But right now, I just like sorry, I'm answering all the questions. I'm gonna stop, babe. How do we? How
No,
do
go
we?
ahead. I love what you were saying.
I
I
was
love
just
what you were
gonna
saying.
say, and now it's I love you. Goodbye, baby. Mwah. Zion is saying
Oh,
goodbye.
bye, Bella.
Oh, now he's coming.
I
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, babu. Mwah. I love you. I miss you.
You say love you. Bye, daddy.
I love
You blow me a
you.
kiss?
Hi, Daddy.
Thank you.
Oh, have a great trip, honey. Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Mm.
Um, okay, so the other thing I was going to share was that our relationship structure in terms of time and energy and how we manage it changes with whatever we need. And we are about to start a new project or a new like exploration together when you come home. And part of that is we're going to try something crazy where every other day we're going to spend 1 hour on a schedule in intimacy and whatever
Mm.
that becomes, right? Whatever that looks like. And we've got some guidance from amazing coaches, and we both have done our work around this, but we've been preparing for trying this experiment out. And so that's what the next phase is going to look like, and we'll see what it's like, right? It's like, who knows? And we'll see how the experiment goes. But we make a lot of space in our relationship depending on what the needs are and what's arising, what's alive for us.
Totally. Yeah. And I think like you're so beautifully able to articulate the value of space for you that I see the impact that it has on you. So I'm inspired to give it to you. And then I'm also inspired to take it. So like even like I'm here in America right now, and I was like, okay, babe, I'm gonna go for like 2 weeks. I'll be right back. And you're just like, no, you're not gonna enjoy that. Like go for a month, like get some spaciousness, go for a whole month. And and I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, okay, what would I be able, if I wanted to do all the things I wanted to do, how long would it take? And it was a month. And so yeah, I get to be here for a month, which is huge.
Yeah. And and we can do that because we trust each other, and you can trust that when I say we're going to be fine for a month, babe, that we really are, and we miss you and we love you. And
Yeah.
it is also so effing beautiful to see how sparkly your eyes are and hear your stories about being around family and doing trainings and seeing mountains again, right? It's like, and knowing that you're gonna bring that juice home to us. It's super sexy.
Yeah.
All right. So we're almost out of the questions and we're almost out of time. So I want to just finish these up. Okay. One question was if we were in relationship, was I a relationship coach when we met? And yes, we were. We answered that question. So I'm gonna skip it. What the last two questions? What's your experience been with Eri's boundaries around being your coach or not while in relationship with her? How about your experience setting your own boundaries? It's a boundaries question.
I mean, we both love receiving coaching from the other, and we both very clearly can tell each other when we're full or aren't available to, or just like there are times we're just like, hey, I hear you and your ideas are great, and honestly, I just want to be heard right now. Like, or like, you know, like what I'm looking for is blank. Like we can make requests. So yeah, I think we have like really powerful boundaries, and I think it's like I receive you as my coach, and you receive me as your coach, and the different things that we like create. You know, it's like we just ping pong back and forth, and I love the insights that we give each other and the places we get to go as a result.
Yeah, and I'll just toss one more thing in there is that, and we also been effing like proactive in working with other coaches. So through our entire relationship, we've had other guides who have heard us and like been there for us and given us tools. And we learned a lot about boundaries and a lot about requests through working with other coaches. So it's been really cool. All right. And you're frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Last question. I know Jay, I know Jaymin does. Okay, great. I know Jaymin does amazing work / speaking too. So do you guys ever do good impressions of each other? I don't know, like make up SNL skits in my imagination. If it'll fit.
That's really funny. That's a great idea. I think we should do it. We have been. Hi, Beto.
Hi, Daddy.
I love you. You're so cute. Oh.
Can you bring to bed, Bamba?
I will bring you Bamba. Okay, can you give me a kiss? Let me kiss.
We'll talk to him more later, okay? Thank you, babe.
Okay, I'll bring you 2 bags Bamba.
You can bring that with you if it fits in the bag, okay? I love you. Nice. Okay, go ahead.
So what were we talking about?
We were talking about impressions, and I thought of one story to end on, if it's the same story.
Okay, it might be the same story. Yeah, we haven't done really impressions of us on stage, but we did play the 3-minute game one time, and it was like the funniest thing ever. So I asked Eri to, I can't remember the specific request that I made, but I was like, I kind of want you to do to me what I do to you, you know, like romantically or intimately. And it was so funny. It was literally like one of the most hilarious things, because I kind of do like this like kissy attack, like an animal, and then she like did it to me like totally like not like mocking it, but like, you know, really making it an exaggerated version of it, and with sound effects, and literally like not only did I
was gonna say, hold on, let me paint the picture a little better. He's laying on a bed. I walk out of the room, adjust my outfit to look like him, and then I walk back in and I do a flying leap across the bed and land on top of him because this is what he loves to do. And then I like puppy Labrador just like lick him all over.
Oh my God. So not only did my heart feel so seen and loved, but I was like just crying tears. I was like crying, like laughing so hard. I had to like pause and just like try to catch my breath again. She nailed it. It was so hilarious. I loved it.
I loved it too. It was great. So yes, that was exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We got through all the questions. Yay!
Amazing. Amazing. And a few extras. Love it.
This is so fun. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments and questions. This was super fun. Baby, thank you so much for you and being so willing to spend time hopping on and having this playfulness with me.
What can I say except you're welcome? And thank you for being a beautiful, glorious goddess of a host. I love you. And thank you for everyone who submitted questions. That was fun.
That was really fun. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. All right. Maybe. I love you. Happy anniversary, baby. Talk to you later.
Happy anniversary. Mwah. Love you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.